Exercises with where questions or when questions. Next. We were walking in a park in Caracas when we got attacked. Where? Where were we walking when we got attacked? Next. I've lived in many countries in Europe. Where? Where have you lived? Or where have you lived in Europe? Next. I think she'll be back for Christmas. When? When do you think she'll be back? Next. She plans on finishing her studies by the end of the year. When? When does she plan on finishing her studies? Exercises with which questions or how questions. Next. He'll wear his sneakers on Friday and his leather shoes on Sunday. Which? Which shoes will he wear on Friday or on Sunday? It's really irrelevant. Which shoes will he wear on Friday? Next. I'm going to the cinema on Saturday night. Which? Which day are you going to the cinema? You could also ask which night, which evening, and so on. You could also ask which cinema, but we haven't said it in the sentence, so there's no answer to that. So, which night are you going to the cinema? Next. She's doing very well, thanks. How? How is she doing? Or you could also ask, how is she? Next. Fine, thanks. How? How are you? That's the easiest. How are you? Exercises with how much or how many questions. Next. That'll be £3, thank you. How much? Before I give you the answer to this one, I realized that this one is tricky because I really wanted a very normal, simple question. So, how much is it? However, the answer could lead you to using the future. How much will that be? But normally people ask, how much is it, or how much? And the person asking for the money will often use the future and say, that'll be £3, please, or that'll be £3, thank you. So, how much is it is the best question here. Next. A software engineer earns over £50,000 a year. How much? How much does a software engineer earn in a year? I'd like a dozen eggs, please. A dozen means 12. I'd like a dozen eggs, please. How many? How many eggs would you like? Next. There are 20 people in my class. How many? How many people are there in your class? Remember that people is plural, so we need to use how many, because in some languages people get confused because in their own language people is singular. Exercises with how long is referring to measurements questions. Next. The swimming pool is 25 meters long. So this how long question is referring to the length of the physical length and not the length of time. The swimming pool is 25 meters long. How long? How long is the swimming pool? Next. My new skirt is knee length. How long? How long is your new skirt? Knee length means it goes down to the knee. It's as long as the knee. Next. My hair is shoulder length. How long? How long is your hair? Again, shoulder length means as long as the shoulders. How old questions and how far questions. Next. My grandfather is 86 years old. How old? How old is your grandfather? Next. It's not polite to ask a lady her age. Polite means it's not very elegant. It's not polite to ask a lady her age. How old? How old are you? And the lady can get offended and say it's not polite to ask a lady her age. Next. I live 10 minutes away by car from school. How far? So how far is asking about the distance. I live 10 minutes away by car from school. How far? How far do you live from school? One could also ask, how far from school do you live? Next. My hotel was 5 minutes on foot from the beach. How far? How far was your hotel from the beach? Or also, how far from the beach was your hotel? Listen and repeat exercises with whose questions. Next. This debit card is mine. Whose? Whose is this debit card? It's referring to who does the debit card belong to. Next. They are his books. Whose? Whose books are they? In both these cases, you can use two forms actually. So, whose are these books or whose books are they? And in the previous one, whose is this debit card or whose debit card is this? Both are correct. Exercises with who questions or whom questions. And these two have the slightly more complicated form referring to the object of the sentence as well. He's been studying with the best professors. If we want to know the subject, we ask who. Who has been studying with the best professors? Instead, if we want to know the question to ask about the object of the sentence, we'll ask whom or who for the object. Who has he been studying with? Not forgetting the preposition at the end of the sentence. Who has he been studying with? Next. We had already met her fiancé at the beach. To ask for the subject, we'll say who. Who had already met her fiancé at the beach? Fiancé is the person you promised to marry. So just not a normal boyfriend or girlfriend, but the person you've promised to marry. Who had already met her fiancé at the beach? If instead we want to discover the object of the sentence, we'll ask whom or who. Who? Who had we already met at the beach? Okay, so these are the sentences which I would like you to practice various times, because the more you listen and try thinking about them and repeating them, the easier they'll come to you.
Now, I sincerely hope that you've been able to practice your question formation, your more complex question formation for advanced learners of English. And I recommend you not only practice these questions with the video, but also listen to the audio whilst you're traveling, ironing, doing chores, so that you can really consolidate your question formation, and so it'll become more spontaneous. So don't forget to also listen and repeat in your free time when you're doing something not very important, where your mind is not taken up by anything, and you can really consolidate your question formation. And I'm sure you'll reap the benefits of all this practice. Now, if you want to practice your speaking further, don't forget to check up here my Fast Fluency Trainer, where you can practice listening, repeating, forming questions, practice all your grammar revision, all whilst driving, commuting, doing chores, just so you keep your speaking up. You manage to practice your speaking so that you become a confident speaker of English. Or if you'd rather take your learning into your own hands, then check out my Speak English Successfully course, in which I'll teach you strategies for learning English all on your own, choosing the materials that best fit your needs and are most exciting for you. Those are the materials with which you'll then learn to speak best. Thank you for buying my product, and I look forward to seeing you again in the future. Carry on the good work. Bye.